we have to think about how it affects the shareholders on the properties that have huge increases in commercial rental income, and that's eliminating their maintenance. You would think they'd be happy just to have to pay less, but there's also a tax situation which we need to deal with. Just a reminder, properties, and especially sought after rental retail districts, are experiencing huge increases in commercial rental income lease renewals. We all know that commercial rents tend to reduce the maintenance that shareholders have to pay. So now we need to talk about the bad. Before we do that, I just want to remind you that there's an issue of perceived profit on the store rental, because that's going to impact the allocation of expenses we're going to talk about next. But realize that this pass-through deductions are the amounts that we allocate to the shareholders, and shareholders can only deduct what they pay. So if they're going to pay less maintenance, they're paying less expenses, less deductions are allowed to be passed through. See, we don't know whether the IRS is going to apply the same expense allocation to that taxable income issue for the perceived profit and also the pass-through deductions. Right now that remains unanswered. But for now, let's just take a look at the effect that this has on the shareholder. The pass-through deductions are generally 50% of maintenance charges for buildings that have no commercial space at all. So therefore, when commercial rents are wiping out the maintenance that shareholders have to pay, they're really losing half of everything that's being wiped out as a deduction. Many shareholders want to pay less and take the same deductions. So substantial thought needs to go into the decision how we communicate the situations to shareholders and what they need to know in order to do their tax returns and do their tax planning. As always, we want you to remember, as a board member, you have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the corporation and its shareholders, and you should be concerned about the risks associated with utilizing any aggressive strategy. Here it affects your shareholders on an individual level as well as the corporation. So it's so important that a well-informed board take a look at these substantial decisions.